Okay, so what is reduction and oxidation, or oxidation and reduction? We said, well, one thing gets reduced and the other thing gets oxidized, and I'm going to tell you which each of those are. But one thing loses electrons and gives it to the other thing. So it's a transfer of electrons. This transfer must happen simultaneously. It can't be like this one loses electrons today and then a week from now this one gains the electrons. It's like this one loses it and this one gains it. This one gives to this one. So it has to happen simultaneously. And if this one loses 3 electrons, how many does this one gain? 3 electrons. Okay, we can't have like anything lost or gained or poof disappear just like before. So again, that rule, when nothing can be like created or destroyed, we call it conservation or conserved. Okay, just like if you're conserving water, it means that you don't like lose too much water. So the fact that electrons just can't just poof disappear. If you lose 3 here, you have to gain 3 here. That means that charge is conserved. So we already knew that mass was conserved. Like if you started with 3 grams of reactant, in the end you have to have 3 total grams of product, even if they're like rearranged into new substances. We knew already that energy has to be conserved. And now there was always this third thing that I was like, oh, I'll explain that later. Charge is conserved. So now this is charge. If you lose 3 negatively charged electrons, you have to gain 3 negatively charged electrons somewhere else. Okay. So which one's it? What is oxidation? What is reduction? We have memory tricks for this because it's a little hard to remember. So there's 2 different ones. Oil rig says that oxidation is loss of electrons. Okay, so oxidation is the one losing, and reduction is gain. So that's OIL. Oil. Oxidation is loss. So it's right here. And rig, RIG. Reduction is gain. The other one is Leo the lion says GER, lose electrons oxidation, gain electrons reduction. I used to like that one better because it's cuter, but it kind of annoys me how like oxidation and reduction are at the end of it. I like oil rig because I'm like, okay, oil starts with O, that's the oxidation one. Rig starts with R, it's the reduction one. But either whatever you use, you have to know that oxidation is loss of electrons. So the one that gets oxidized is the one that is losing. So if you think about like, you've heard of things getting oxidized when they're left out, like in the rain, like when a car rusts, it gets oxidized. So think of like it was losing mass. So like that car, like if you see a rusting car, it starts to break down and chip away. Same thing with like an oxidizing statue, or like oxidizing like when like jewelry oxidizes on your skin, it leaves like the residue, like a green residue on your skin. So it's like losing mass. And reduction is gain. You might be like, oh, reduction, that sounds like reduced down. So that does confuse people. And the reason it's called reduction is when you gain 3 negative electrons, your charge actually goes down because you gain 3 negative things. And that is why it's called reduced. So you get reduced down because you're gaining something negative. But you're still gaining. So remember that unit where like when you gain electrons, you actually go down in charge. And we did this before. And when you lose electrons, you actually go up in charge because you lost something negative. This whole unit is going to be like that. It's going to be all like opposites that you have to stop and think about. So try to pay attention from the start and just take your time and think about those things. Okay, so you have oxidation is loss, oil, and reduction is gain. So you go, okay, oxidation is loss, so it must be the electrons are going like this from the thing that's oxidized to the thing that's reduced. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. So then you have to think about what's the charge going to look like here. So if this thing is losing something negative, losing negative electrons, then its charge goes, lose something negative, your charge is going to go up, right? Because you lost something negative. Oh my gosh, my kids are so loud. And then reduction is gain. If you're gaining negative electrons, then your charge is actually going down. So here's the stuff you have to know for oxidation and reduction. Oil Rig. Oxidation is loss. So then you can either go, okay, you ox up, you oxidize up, your charge goes up. You can think they're both vowels, oxidation and up. However you're going to remember, or you could say, okay, well, if you lose electrons, you lose something negative, so your charge must go up. So somehow you have to know all this stuff. Oxidation is loss, your charge goes up. And however you remember this, reduction is gain. You could say, okay, well, if I'm gaining electrons, then my charge is going down. Or I could say, oh, reduce down. My charge obviously goes down because the word is reduced. So however you remember it, you need to know that reduction is gain of electrons and that the charge goes down. Oxidation is loss and that the charge goes up. How do you figure this out? Well, you have to look at something. They're gonna give you like Na plus 1 Cl negative became Na 0 or something. So you go, oh, the charge went from being, for Na, went from being plus 1 to 0, so the charge went down, so I guess it got reduced. So you're going to need to know their little charges to know if they went up or down, to know if they got oxidized up or reduced down. So that's why in our next lesson, we're going to talk about how to assign these little charges so we can know if the charge got reduced down or oxidized up.